Hello and welcome to this episode of the Game Plan Podcast by College Baseball Advisors. I'm your host, Wayne Mazzoni. My background is 30 years as a college baseball coach, current recruiting advisor. For more information about what I do, please visit my website, collegebaseballadvisor.com. On today's episode, we had the legendary Jack Leggett. Jack, most people know, was the head coach at Clemson for a long time, but on this podcast, we covered his upbringing in his early life. His dad was a coach and moved around, but he was really raised in Vermont, played football and baseball at University of Maine, still holds a record for longest field goal, went to the College World Series as a player at Maine, then started coaching baseball at Vermont, tells a great story where he was almost trying to make it to the NFL as a kicker and then was asked to coach club ball at Vermont and that it was going to become a varsity sport. So he stayed there for a while and then made his move to Western Carolina, where he was there for 9 years and really did a tremendous job at that program, which of course led to the opportunity to go to Clemson. He went there for 2 years as an assistant, basically as the head coach in waiting, and took over the program and coached there until 2015 with some just tremendous seasons. Really helped grow Clemson baseball. Everyone now knows Clemson, Clemson football, Clemson basketball, but Clemson baseball gets equally huge crowds and unbelievable facilities. And he was a huge part of that. He also coached USA Baseball. And then for the past several years has been involved in the program development at Clemson, where he works with the coaches and players under the rules that he's allowed. But it was a really great conversation to talk all things college baseball and just educating and coaching and baseball in general. I'd like to remind you that this podcast is made possible through the sponsorship of the World Baseball Coaches Convention, which takes place January 15th to 17th, 2026 at the Mohegan Sun Casino in Uncasville, Connecticut. It's in its 23rd year. There's a tremendous lineup of coaches this year, as there is every year. If you go to baseballcoachesclinic.com, you will see soon the schedule. You will see all the speakers. You could look at past lineups of speakers and schedules as well. You can see the venue. There's great vendors. There's a hitting batting cage demo area. There's an infield demo area. It's just a great place to get the baseball juices flowing with really good baseball people and some new features that are being released for this year as well. So again, go to baseballcoachesclinic.com. And without further delay, here's my talk with legendary coach Jack Leggett. All right. So first of all, Jack, this is a very exciting to have you. What's very funny is a lot of times, like on the social media, I'll post who's coming up, like, coming up guest. And a few of my friends up here in Connecticut are like, "Oh my God, you got Leggett up? You got Leggett?" I go, "Not yet. He's coming tomorrow." But they were very excited.
Well,
So
good.
so you're one of the kind of the few guys that really started north and then really made his career, at least a good part of it, down south. But I always like when I do these to talk about the beginning. So if I think I have this correct, you were born and raised in Vermont, correct?
I was born and raised in Vermont. I mean, I was born in Maine, but
Okay, so born in Maine. Got it.
my father was a coach, and so he got his doctorate at Springfield College. So we lived in Massachusetts a little bit. Then we moved to Walla Walla, Washington, where he was an assistant coach at Whitman College, and then went to Portland State College. At the time, it's called Portland State College, Portland University now, I guess,
Yeah.
Portland, Oregon. So he was the head coach there for a couple of years. Then he was the head coach at Adrian College in Adrian, Michigan. So moved back to Michigan. Then he got the job as an assistant football coach at the University of Vermont. So that's how we got to Vermont when I was in third grade. So the first part of my life, I was moving around a little bit.
So you're moving around, and was he only a football coach, or he coached others? He coached swimming too, correct?
Yeah, well, he
Yeah.
coached at these other schools. He coached track, he coached wrestling, he coached a little bit of baseball, and he coached football mainly. And then he went to the University of Vermont. They dropped football after a while there, and they needed a swimming coach. So he coached the swim team for 21 years, had some great teams. And he was never a swimmer in college or anything like that, just learned how to do it. He was a coach, knew how to coach and treat people. And so I learned. I was by the pool a lot. He had the keys to the gym, Wayne. We could go on a trampoline. We go shoot hoops and Patrick gym and go to the weight room, go to the pool. We had go out to the track, go to the indoor track, go outside. I want to learn how to pole vault. I get you pole vault. Man, we were gym rats. We lived within 200 yards of the university and played up on those fields every day after school. Played football, basketball, baseball, whatever it was. We had the best facilities in the country to play as kids. So it was,
Well, you know what strikes me as that, and we were talking before I hit record, and we're going to talk a little bit about your multi-sport background, but like I coached much of my life. You obviously coached much of your life. I don't think I could do what your dad did. Like if you threw me in another sport, I would have no earthly idea what I'm doing. I'm kind of a football, baseball guy, but like if you took me, you said coach field hockey, I wouldn't know the first thing of what to do.
well, I wouldn't know field hockey either, but
Right.
I could probably manage basketball. I played a lot of basketball, track, figure it out. Soccer, could figure that out. Basketball, football, baseball, any one of those be fine with me.
Yeah.
But you get entrenched in your own ideas, and you get entrenched in what is really important in the baseball world, like we spent our life in. And I gravitated. Played college football and baseball, so I knew a little bit about both of those things for a
Yeah.
long time. And almost became uh, a college football coach and never became a baseball coach.
Well, don't rush.
Good story behind
I want to hear that in a second. But well, here's what I want to ask you, and you alluded to it already. Growing up, obviously with a dad coach, you're that much near the school, so you were always at the school playing every sport. By
that.
the time you got to high school,
Yep.
was it football, baseball only, or were you playing other sports still?
I played football all 4 years and captain the football team and never came off the field in football. Played basketball. Actually led the state in scoring my last
Wow.
year, and so I really like to play basketball a lot. And then of course baseball played, and we won 2 state championships in baseball, 2 state championships in football, last 2 years of each. And I really wanted to play all three in college. I thought I could, but just time frame. So I went up there and played football, and they never asked me to play fall baseball because I was, I guess, a good enough player, I guess, to not have to worry about that. And they never worried about me in spring football. And so it never bothered me about that. They let me play baseball. And then in the summer, I would go off and play in the Portland Twilight League in Portland, Maine, or go to the Cape Cod League, played in Cape Cod League in 75. And so I'd go off and play baseball in the summer. My car would be packed. I'd, drive up to Orono. My car would be packed from the summer of baseball. I'd get out, get timed in the 2 mile for football, and go to meetings that night and, be entrenched. So I was always playing something, but I loved basketball as much as any of them.
Wow.
Just couldn't fit it in.
So, it's funny as you were describing that. For many years that I worked at Sacred Heart, I don't know if you know who I'm about to say personally, but the athletic director was Bobby Valentine.
Yeah.
And, Bobby Valentine is legendary, of course, baseball player, but people say he's one of the best high school football players they'd ever seen and actually committed to play college football and then, got drafted and went on the baseball thing. But back to getting to Maine,
Mm-hmm.
was football the leading thing of what got you to Maine? Did football drive that decision and the recruiting, or was it, hey, this guy's great, he can play two sports? Like, what got you to University of Maine at that stage? Do you remember what
Well,
got you there?
yeah, my parents went to school there. I really wanted to kind of go away from home, get, my own roots. And University of Vermont at that time did not have baseball. So I wasn't going to go to Vermont to play
Right.
football without baseball. I needed
Right.
baseball in my life.
Yeah.
So decided to go. Jack Butterfield was the coach at the University of Maine. He had gone to school with my parents way in back at the University of Maine. So I knew something about the history of Maine, went up there, loved it on my first visit. They didn't have scholarships at that time. It was just a matter of getting an opportunity, getting a chance. Football the same way, no scholarships at the time. And so I just knew that I could, you know, outwork anybody. And I felt like I could play both sports. And they told me they thought I could. And I had some other buddies of mine from our high school, South Burlington High School in Vermont, go to school up there. Two other guys that went there and played football as well, Mike O'Day and Dave Russell. And so we went up there and had a great career, loved it. Ended up going to Omaha in baseball and football, was captain both teams, and
So let's
that's a
unpack
good
that a
player.
little, because
Yeah.
that's incredible. So from a football, let's start with football. What was I know you also kicked in college,
Right,
correct? Right.
right, right.
But what was were you a primary DB or
Yeah,
no? You
yeah.
were.
We played a 52 monster defense, and I was the monster man.
Okay.
And they called me at one point. They called me the Rover, but I'd be 1 yard off the line of scrimmage, 3 yards wide, go to the strong side of the field or the strong side of the formation, or the wide side of the field, the strong side of the
Yep.
formation.
Yep.
And action came to me. I was going to tackle you. That's simple as that.
Yeah.
Action going away, I was going to chase you down. I was going to tackle you. And pass. If tight end release, I had flat coverage. If the action went away, I had tight end man to man. So I knew what my responsibilities were, but I played every down. And my first year as a freshman, I played a little bit of both sides of the ball, but I also kicked. And I still hold the 52-yard
I
field
see.
goal record at the University of Maine. It's been since 1975, so
That's
it's
amazing.
50 years, I guess.
That's
A
amazing.
kid tied it about 5 years ago, and the coach called me. They were at a away game. The kid kicked a field goal to win the game, 16-13 or something. And he says, "Coach, I just got to tell you, a guy tied your field goal today after 45 years." So I said, "Give me his number." He's in the hotel. So I called the kid up and congratulated him and
That's cool.
told him that mine was against the wind in a snowstorm, uphill. But anyway, I kicked mine at the University of Delaware, and kicked 52-yard clear, beautiful day, no wind or
Yeah,
anything.
well, you definitely kicked off grass and he kicked off turf. Let's put it that way too, right?
Yeah, but I had the advantage that I had is we could kick at that time off
The
a platform,
T. Yeah, yeah,
a
yeah,
1 inch platform or
yeah.
whatever.
Don't tell him that though.
No, I know. So, there's another story behind how I got into baseball as opposed to football. When I got done playing at the University of Maine, I got done in December, and but so I played four. I went to school 4.5 years. I didn't need to, but I went to school 4 years. And at the end of my fourth year, we went to the College World Series in Omaha in 1976. And I wanted to sign professionally in baseball, and I had been told I could. And so I had a tryout after I went to Omaha at the up at Jerry Park, the Expo Stadium, in uniform, the whole deal, taking ground balls out of second base before they were playing the Pirates and Willie Stargell's out behind me in right field and all this kind of thing. But evidently they had enough guys in their minor league system. So he said, they couldn't use me. I thought I was a good enough player, but that's just the way it was. So I said, I still have another half year. I still had another year of football to play because I had broken my ankle my sophomore year.
Yep.
And so I had purposely planned on missing graduation in the spring by 1 credit because you couldn't play if you had graduated at that time. Now
Right.
you play 12 years,
Of
or
course. Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
So I had it with the dean of education. He said, "All right, if you do sign, I'll sign off on this 1 credit and you'll graduate." And he goes, "If you do decide to come back to school in the fall and play football, you don't sign baseball, then you are legal because you're 1 credit short."
Right, right.
So I went back and I took 5 credits in the fall, played football, and just had a blast. But I played my last year of football under Jack Bicknell, who was the quarterback coach for Boston College when Doug Flutie threw the Hail Mary pass,
Wow.
and he ended up becoming the football coach at Maine my last year, and I became his first captain there, and that kind of thing. So I went back and played my fifth year of football, and when I got done that in December and graduated, um, he had told me that he thought I could kick in the NFL.
Mm.
And so I said, okay, I'm going to give that a shot because I was pretty accurate and I could kick within 50 yards.
Yeah.
Well, and he had a guy, Freddie Steinfurt, I think, went to Boston College and kicked the left-footed kicker, kicked in the NFL for a while. He thought I was on par with him. And so far, anyway, he said, I think you can kick in the NFL. So go back and work hard at it. And boy, my legs were strong. I was kicking off the ground in the field house at the University of Vermont. And I thought, okay, I think I could do this thing. And so it was like, January, February, March, and my legs in great shape. I'm probably going to try to go to a camp in June or whenever they went to camp in May or whatever. And so that was my plan. And then Rick Farnham, who was the AD at University of Vermont, assistant AD at the time, comes through the field house doors. I'm kicking, and he goes, "How would you like to coach the club baseball team?" Well, let's go back if you don't mind. We'll go
Yeah,
back.
sure. Yeah.
So before in December, after I graduated, I went skiing with a couple of buddies out in Colorado, and that was always my goal of the Rockies and all that kind of thing. So we were
Yeah.
skiing out there, and I loved it so much. We were in Boulder, Colorado, and that I loved it so much. I said, "Well, I'm going to be a football coach. I need to be a football coach. That's what I do." And so I went up to Bill Mallory's office, who was just the new coach at University of Colorado. Came from Miami of Ohio, I think, at the time, and I went in and I said, "I want to be a graduate assistant. I want to be a football coach. This is what I want to do." He goes, "I'd love to have you." Um, but I took a couple of my guys from Miami to here, and they're going to be graduate assistants, so I don't have any open. But if you had an opening graduate assistantship, I would have gone to University of Colorado, and my whole trajectory of everything, I would have been a college football coach. No doubt it was in my mind that's what I wanted to do. But anyway, so that didn't work out, came back, and then started working to kick in the NFL. And then, Rick Farnham walked through the field house door while I was kicking, and I had known him because he was one of my high school football coaches. And he goes, "How'd you like to coach a club baseball team?"
Mm,
Because they didn't have varsity at the time.
right.
So for $600.
Oof.
So, I said, "Let me think about this because I got this dream here." So I went back, thought about it for a day. I said, "You know what?" He said, "And if you do a good job, we're turning gymnastics, lacrosse, and baseball to varsity status in July. If you do a
Wow.
good job, maybe you'll be the head coach, of the baseball team at 23 years old."
Wow.
So I said, "Gee, that's a pretty good opportunity." So I took it. We went 11-9, played varsity teams. Connecticut played varsity teams, Division One or whatever teams in New England at the time, but we were a club team. And returned to varsity status. They hired me for $4,900.
Ooh, huge upgrade. Yep.
Yeah, and I had to pay
Yep.
for my master's out of that. So I got my master's. I had no assistant coaches. I was doing, coaching the pitchers, the catchers, the outfielders, hitters, base run, the whole deal. And offense, defense, recruiting, teaching in the physical education department, getting my master's at night, taking classes, and I was coaching by myself. And we're in most of our time, as you know, Wayne, up north, it's indoors. So we were
Yeah.
indoors in January, February, all the way through March, pretty much. And so I learned really how to coach in a uh, certain space inside a tenth of a mile track, dirt surface, right after the
Shot
track
putters.
came
Yeah.
in. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was, we're taking ground balls in a mine pit, and nets down, pitchers over here, pitch machine over there, hitting ground balls, the intros here. So I learned how to have an hour and a half practice in a limited space because women's lacrosse coming. We had practice from 7:30 to 9. They're coming in at 9 o'clock.
Yep.
They got it from 9:30 to 10:30. Somebody's coming from 10:30 to midnight. That whole thing. So it wasn't like you had an hour and 32 minutes because they're
No,
standing there
no, they're
waiting.
waiting.
They're
Exactly.
waiting.
They're waiting.
And
Yep.
so you learned how to utilize a certain amount of space, a certain amount of time, get done what you need to get done, and utilize your players as leaders. So I tell Dan Gasparino, my catcher from Connecticut, I go, "Gaspo, take catchers over here. You guys are working on your blocking drills. You're working on framing, you're working on throwing the ball to second base, whatever. If I turn around and see you guys screwing around, I'm coming after you."
Right.
I
Right.
say, "Tommy, Mitch," I said, "Mitch, take these guys over here and you're doing your footwork drill, outfield drills, working on, getting behind the ball, coming through it, crow hop, whatever." And so I said, "Mitch, if I see anybody screwing around, I'm coming after you." And so you had to delegate a little bit,
Yep.
and that gave them a little more responsibility. They became better players because now they got to know what they're doing and how they're getting their group through the drills. And it made me a better coach because I had that certain amount of time, and I had to learn how to do everything from pitching to whatever. I just managed everything, and I had great college coaching and great um, high school football coaching, but great college baseball coaching and great college football coaching along the way. So and my dad was a coach, so I had a good idea. I think I was probably ahead of the curve at 23.
Yeah.
and I still have great relations with all these guys.
Wow.
They're 65 now. I'm
Right.
71. They're 65. We get together, play golf, go to Stowe, Vermont for a couple weekends, and you're still coach to them. You're still. I played with them in the summer because you could do that back then. I played shortstop with these guys during the summer, and yeah, had a blast. So
Isn't that
great
funny to
time.
think about that now, right?
Yeah,
Back
yeah.
then you're that young and now you're basically like you're pretty, I mean, 65 to 71. Really, what's the difference? All right.
I know.
Like, so
Yeah,
isn't that great? What a story. Holy cow.
close. They're close. We're a group text. You know, we all love each other. I mean, it's as simple as that. And so we had a great relationship, great time, University of Vermont, and then
Let me ask you just
yeah,
one thing at Vermont.
yeah.
So ultimately there you were there before you moved on. 4 years
I was there 6 years. One is the
club.
club coach and five
Right.
the head
Okay.
coach. In the
And
last 2 years, we were in the New England championship game with no scholarships with Maine, University of Maine, who was the best team in the '80s. They were the best team, um, in New England.
yeah,
I would think they went to Omaha 5 times in the '80s. So
right.
we were fighting with them. They had a little better setup, scholarship wise and all, and had good players. And Coach Winkin was the coach at that time, John Winkin, and so they had some good things going for them. But we were in the championship game with them last couple of years, and then moved on from there.
At any point at Vermont, did you rethink baseball? Like, hey, I'd like to get back into football, or once you got in it, were you all in on baseball?
But once I was in, I was all in. I loved it. I love it to this day. I had a incredible college baseball coach in Jack Butterfield for 2 years, and then John Winkin for 2 years, and Stump Merrill was one of my assistant coaches, and he was the manager of the Yankees for a year
Of
and a half,
course.
AAA forever, and then Dick DeVarney was another great, really fundamental infield coach. So I had a really good fundamental base, I think, and once I started, I was all in. It's simple as that.
So obviously from there, now you go south. You go Western Carolina is the next move, correct?
Right, right.
Was that a matter of, hey, I'm all in on baseball. I got to get out of the snow. I got to try my like. What do you remember? What led to that move?
Yeah, I sure do. So the first year, money has never been a big deal to me. Okay, but this to put it in perspective, so all these guys out here that are listening that may think they got to go right to the top right at the beginning.
Yeah.
I've I've dragged the infield, I've watered and mowed the grass, and I've painted the dugouts, all the things you've done before, and so that was great learning. I got paid $4,900 the first year. Next year they moved me up to 9,000. I thought I was rolling.
Rolling in it. Yeah,
Go.
exactly.
Next year 10-2, 10-6, 11-2, 11-8, 12-6. So those are my salaries at the University of Vermont. But I came back from the New England tournament, and we had just been in the finals with Maine. We were ranked number one or whatever, but Maine was a little sharper than we were. Had more to deal with, and had a better team probably. But we were playing as well as we could. And I came back, and I remember seeing the athletic director, and he was a good guy. And but he just, hey, good season, and that was it. And I remember thinking, I don't, not sure they care about this as much as I care about it.
Right.
And so I applied for 3 jobs: the University of Florida job, University of Tampa job, and Western Carolina job. I saw all 3 of them in the, collegiate baseball news, whatever.
Yes. Yep.
Applied for all 3 of them. Got a call back from Florida. I'll never forget it. They go, hey, we like, your resume and all this kind of stuff. And I think you're in the top 6 guys or whatever we're looking at. But they eventually gave it to Joe Arnold, I think, who was their assistant coach at the time. And so anyway, there in the Tampa thing didn't work out as well. And then I got a call from Western Carolina University, and Bob Waters was the athletic director, and he was also the football coach. And they'd kind of been wrestling with the baseball coach some. They didn't quite go up. So they invited me down, and I went down there and get off the plane, and his son Jeff Waters picked me up at the Asheville airport and drove me, and it was dark. And I remember thinking all the way there, what am I doing? Where am I going? No light from Asheville there. I'm going, no. So I came across the top, the last little rise to where the campus is, and all the lights were on. It looked like Gotham City. And I go, oh, okay. There's people alive here.
Right.
Woke up the next morning. The sun was out. It was beautiful day. People on the tennis courts, and I'm going, okay, it's got some vibe to it, And so anyway, the assistant AD, Steve Cottrell, was the basketball coach as well, and he picked me up, just walked across the Reed gym there. I came out of my room there, and he goes, "Let's go to breakfast." And we go to breakfast at Dodson Cafeteria, and we're going through the line, and I'm 27 at this time, right? And but I think I got all the answers, and now I'm feeling good about this place. And he goes, "Hey, I bet you don't even know what this is." We're going through the line, and it was grits, but I'd never seen grits. So I know what that is. I know that's cream of wheat. He thought that was so from that moment on, I think he liked me. He goes, oh, this guy's got a sense of humor.
Right.
So anyway, we had a great time. Coach Waters, I think hit it home real good with Coach Waters because I had a football background.
I was going to say the football connection for sure.
So now he's thinking, oh, I'm not going to fight with this guy. He loves football too.
Right.
This is going to be good. And then the whole weekend, I could tell we were hitting it off, and I felt confident. And the next thing I know, I go home, and he calls me up, and he goes, Jack, we'd like to hire you as our baseball coach here for 20,000. And I said, I'll come for 22. He goes, you got it. I go, damn, I should have asked for 25. So my first negotiating employee, I wasn't so good at.
Right.
So I went down there, it was 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, whatever. And then we stayed there 9 years. Both my kids were born down there. It was awesome experience, great players, great people. And
what I was, as I was doing a little research, and this is kind of obvious, but like clearly in Vermont, I think in your last year, maybe you guys played 25 games, right? Maybe with the weather. And then you go down to Western, and now you got a 55, 60 games. So all of a sudden now you wanted more all-in baseball. You got it, right?
Yeah, I wanted better weather. We had just before I went down there, and the last spring I was there, we were going down to play Iona. We played Iona on a little trip, and then we are going to go play St. John's when I was at Vermont.
Yep.
And we woke up in the morning. We must stay in a hotel right on 95, I guess, near New York City or whatever. And my trainer, Roger Bryant, gets up in the morning before me, and it's dark, and he opens the sash. He goes, you're not going to like this, Jack. I said, what do we got? We played the day before. The sun was out. It was very crisp and cold at Iona.
Yeah.
Very cold, but crisp, and sun was out. So I get up and I look outside, and there's that much snow on the railing, a couple cars off the interstate. There's, the snow all over the interstate. I said, I'm out. I need a little better weather. I'm more into this than I can imagine. So anyway, that kind of spurred my interest in moving down south to try to play. And so anyway, when I got to Western Carolina, we had some great years. We were from 80, I was there 9 years, and 8 of the years we were in the championship game. We won 5 in a row in 85, 6, 7, 8, and 9 in Southern Conference championships. We had a roll on things. Kids were great, played hard.
Let me ask you this. Was that at that point, was recruiting a huge piece of that? And also, second part is, did you now have a staff of coaches at that stage?
I had a graduate assistant or two, guys that were getting their masters.
Yep.
And then I had an assistant coach. Maybe we might have paid him, I don't know, a couple $1,000 maybe,
Right.
And then me. And so I had 3 or 4 guys, or 2 or 3 guys that were into baseball, but they weren't being compensated a whole lot. But a little better facility. We had to do some work with that, of course. The weather was better.
But like, was recruiting anything it became? Was it that, were you on the road a lot? Was it?
Yeah. The first thing I did, Wayne, is I took out a map of North Carolina and South Carolina. I go, okay, I got to know what this state's all about, because it's the first time I'd ever been to, Western North Carolina. So I said, okay, I'm going to go to Asheville and there's 4 schools here: AC Reynolds or C Edward, whatever. I said I got to, TC Robertson. I'm going to go to 4 schools. One at 8 o'clock in the morning, one at 11, 10:30, one at 1 o'clock, and one at 3 o'clock. And I told those coaches that get all your players there. I don't, whomever, 10, 12, 15, 20 players. I'm going to talk to them what our program's going to be, what we're looking for. Maybe there's a player or two you think can play here, whatever. So I did that, and then I would go to Greensboro and do the same thing. I
Wow.
went to Greenville, did the same thing. Then I went to Charlotte and did the same thing. So I would, like a week-long trip. I'd go 4 places each day, and it kind of oriented me to where everybody was.
Right.
And we got some good players out of that. Oh, this guy's interested. I had a couple guys show up on campus that I didn't even know about the next year. And they go, yeah, you came to my school, coach. And
Wow.
thought, okay. And then
A
there's
little
a couple
hustle.
guys.
That's a lot of hustle back then. Yep.
Yeah, and then a
Yep.
couple guys I'd show up with Freddie Haley, this kid at Forest Hills High School below Charlotte. I showed up and I go, hey, I want to see Freddie Haley. And Freddie was a good football player, good baseball player, and all that kind of thing. But I hadn't seen him play, but I just had heard about him, and I'm gathering information. So
Yep.
I go to his high school to see him, and he goes, well, he'll be back in about 30 minutes. I said, okay, I'll wait for him before practice. He'll be back in 30 minutes before he has to go to practice. So what's he up to? He goes, well, he's driving the school bus. So he was driving a yellow school bus. These kids were, at that time, I had high school kids driving yellow school buses.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, can you imagine that now?
No.
So Freddie's driving the school bus. That's how responsible he was. He comes back. I meet him. I go watch him practice. And I go, I got to have this kid. He becomes the Southern Conference Player of the Year. He's in the Hall of Fame now.
Wow.
Captain for 2 years, one of the best leaders I ever had. But so I ran into some really good players. I got some kids from up north, the Raleigh kids, Todd and Matt Raleigh. I got Scooter Gay from Milford, New Hampshire, ended up being drafted by the Yankees, and got a bunch of other kids. Kevin Belomo became the Southern Conference Player of the Year from Rutland, Vermont. So anyway, I had that connection.
Yep.
And get some kids from Connecticut and that kind of thing. And then we did a really good job. And we had $14,000 of scholarship money.
Wow.
So I was giving a guy, we laugh about this one kid, Rodney Tesh, who ended up being a really good player for us. I love him to death. We laugh every time we get together. I go, Rodney. So I met he and his father in a Pizza Hut over in near Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And I offered him $200 in a Pizza Hut. We were eating pizza with his dad. And so he got $100 in the spring, fall, $100 in the spring. That's, coach, I can't wait to come play for you. He was just kids at that time. There was no NIL.
No, of course not.
Portal. There's I just want to play.
Right.
And that's, I think you and I can say that I coached 40 years of college baseball at the right time.
Yeah.
And so anyway, a lot of great years at Western Carolina, and we had some really good times. I got in the mix of the Tennessee job. It came down to me and Rod Delmonico there for a while. And so thought I was going to get that job, but I liked Cullowhee too. And my kids, everybody was entrenched there. So they bumped my salary up to $50,000 at that point. And so that's where I ended up. And then Coach Wilhelm at Clemson called me 2 or 3 times previous to this to see if I would come over and be an assistant coach, but I always had been a head coach. I'd never been. So I go, he calls me this time. He goes, Jack, I want you to come down here for a couple of years. I'm going to retire in 2 years. I've always thought you could be the next head coach at Clemson if you do a good job down here. There's no guarantees. You're not going to sign a contract saying that. But if you do a good job. And so I went there for a $13,000 pay cut down to $37,000, 37, 39 the next year, and became the head coach at Clemson, and they, he coached there 36 years, and the most he was making was $50,000 at the end. And so I made 55 or whatever at the beginning. And so anyway, that's how my time, I worked his camps. We played against them in the springtime. I think he respected our teams and how we played. We beat them a few times here and there. And we didn't have any scholarship, facilities and that kind of thing like they had, and support, so budget and so forth. So I think he respected our program at Western. And so anyway, I think he kind of handpicked me to
yes. Yeah.
So it worked out great.
What was the year that you started at Clemson?
I started in 1992, the fall of 92. I'm sorry, the fall. Let me think here. My first 2 years assistant was 92 and 3. So it was the fall of 91.
Okay.
Fall.
So, of course, we know what Clemson is now and also what Clemson became certainly during your tenure. At that point, when you went there, was it, would you call it major college baseball? Was it facilities? Was it the Clemson we know now, or was it different?
It was for that time, I would say it was a major team. They'd been to
Right.
Omaha, a few times. And I think in 1990 they were 60 and 10. One of their losses was to us,
Wow.
Western Carolina. But so they were a good team. They had good players, and they worked at it. And they had some money, scholarship money to deal with. Their facilities were good at that time, much better now, but
Right.
but good for what was out there in the early 90s. Um, so yeah, I would say they're an established program, and they had the administration was all in on it, all in on the football, all in the basketball, all in their sports, and so it was eye opening. The budget, um, do what you got to do to go out and recruit, that kind of thing,
Yeah.
and and so, but you had to learn. You had 11.7 scholarships at the time, so we didn't have this academic common market. We didn't have all these other things that some of these programs have to make, neighboring states things or
Yeah. Right. Right.
Hope scholarships, the life. We didn't have any of those things. So it was 11.7. So you're dividing it up. You're losing kids their junior year. You're thinking kids that after their senior year in high school might sign. So you're balancing that the whole time. I was learning that.
Yeah.
And the first recruiting classes we had Shane Monahan, who ended up being ACC Player of the Year, played in the big leagues with Seattle. We had Chris Benson, who ended up being the first pick in the draft in 1996. They recruited him. Billy Koch, who
Yep.
West Babylon was
Yep.
fourth pick in the draft, and he played in the big leagues for 7 years. So we brought in some good players. I think the kids were excited about the change. I was young at the time. I guess I would have been 29, maybe, I guess. That sounds right. Some maybe 30, I guess 30. And no, I guess I was, no, I'm sorry. I was 30. I'd been at Western for 9 years at 27. So 30, I was probably 39, 40 years.
Right. Right. Right.
So, so anyway, I think they were excited about it. I had a great relationship with all those guys. And I had a great time with it. We went to Omaha 2 out of the first 3 years. We won 54 games, 57
Oh,
games.
your records
Some things were
there
good.
incredible. Let me ask you this though, and I think you kind of said it. Was the biggest adjustment going to Clemson? Because obviously you knew how to coach baseball, right? You become the head coach of Clemson. You had coached years ago in a box in the
Right,
winter, right? So
right.
now you can coach on that. But was it dealing with recruits that might get drafted and balance it like that? I've
Yeah,
never been at that level of coaching. That seems very overwhelming to deal with, not knowing who is showing up based on the draft.
yeah. There was you're in general recruiting a little bit higher
Of
uh,
course.
profile player. So now we're dealing with that. We're dealing with you're banging heads against Georgia Tech and North Carolina and Miami and NC State, whatever. You're
Yep.
banging heads against all these people, and so that's a little bit different. You're recruiting now. You're at the area code games out in California. You're up in Euclid, Ohio at that tournament. You're down in Texas. You're all over the place recruiting. So it was definitely a different. That was the difference, and also how to balance the scholarship. Like,
Right.
okay, I give this guy, you know, 20%. Okay, that leaves me, instead of 11.7, now I'm down to 11.5.
Right. Right. Right.
You're balancing that. And a calculator with me all the time. I was thinking about it. The last Coach Wilhelm used to say, if you're a good recruiter, it's the last thing you think about at night. And it's the first thing you think about in the morning. And
Interesting.
that was me for the 2 years there. And then once I got the job, so I was the head recruiter while I was the assistant coach. So I was all over the place. And then when I became the head coach, I had some other guys who could do some. Tim Corbin.
Yep.
I hired Tim Corbin and John Pulowski. And so I had some guys that were, able to do those things more so I could concentrate a little bit more on closing the deal when they came to campus,
Right.
cross-checking guys, whatever. But at that time, when you could sign kids in person on the signing date, so now you can't, which is a great rule because now you can't get everywhere.
Right.
I
Right.
would
Right.
I would drive to Pennsylvania and sign a kid, in Reading, Pennsylvania. Then I'd be over in Pittsburgh and sign another kid the next day.
Wow.
Then I'd be in Lexington, Kentucky to sign a kid because you didn't want to make anybody feel like they were less than the other guy.
Right. Right.
So now you're running all over the place, just signing kids, balloons and kids.
Oh my God.
So it was different. The kids were still the same. They still wanted to listen. They still wanted to learn. They were loyal. They're tough. They were nothing different that way. All these guys are such good relationships with all my Clemson guys, my Western Carolina guys, my Vermont guys. So they're all the same that way. They all wanted to learn. They all had things to learn, even though they were maybe more skilled to begin with.
Sure. Sure.
I'd watch them play catch, and I go, "Oh my God,
Right.
this guy had a throw," And he's the best player in the state of
Right.
Florida, or whatever,
Right.
the best player in Missouri or whatever. And I'd watch him take a swing or two, and I go, "Oh, yeah, teach this kid how to hit the ball the other way." He's takes the field a ground ball. Watch him take two or three ground balls. I go, man, I got some work here. But yet they're the best players
Right.
out of their places, And so there's a lot of fundamental. My mind is pretty fundamentally strong, and I was thinking about it all the time, and I was thinking about baseball all the time, and I was immersed in the whole thing. So it was good, and the fans were awesome, and we had some immediate success. So everybody was all in, and it was a great ride.
When did the current stadium get built? Was that during your time?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the current stadium got built in my time. Then we added seats in left field, the stands in left field, added a huge batter's eye, which was a huge undertaking. It used to be poles with a windscreen, and
Yeah.
so
How
we got
about that hill in right field?
the hill and all left, center, and right. So
Yeah.
all
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's just that was there before I got there, and it was, I guess, Coach Wilhelm had that built as part of what was at Crosley Field in Cincinnati or whatever, and
Oh,
so
right.
that's how that came about. Then we built the batting cages in right field. They used to be behind home plate, and they were not very good. And we built that batting facility in right field, had AstroTurf infield behind that to work on, to stretch before games, to do PFP, to do
Yeah.
when the field's not ready, and redid the dugouts. Then we built I think we spent 10 million or 12, whatever, on a new facility that never got a chance to get into. They built it and then changed coaches, and they never got a chance to get in. But I helped raise money there, put in 25,000 my own money on this thing, and never got a chance to get into it.
Wow. Right.
But so anyway, these things started to, you know, um, multiply a little bit, make the facility much better. And so at this point, I think it's the best college facility in the ACC. I think because Florida State's got a nice facility, but I like ours better. And North Carolina's got a good facility. There's some other good ones, but I think Clemson's got as nice a facility as there is college stadium
Yeah.
in the ACC.
I mean, I remember, this is when I was coaching at Sacred Heart, and we had played at some good places. But in 2011, we went to your regional at Clemson with
Right.
us and with UConn, who that 2011 UConn team may be one of the best college teams. I mean, there are five big leaguers that
Yeah, I know.
currently on that team. But I remember going there and we flew in like on a Wednesday. And we were opening with you on a Friday. I remember people actually in RVs tailgating on
Yeah.
Wednesday, and we looked around and go, "This is big time college baseball right here. Like this is big time."
Yeah, it's the fans are into it. They love their college athletics here. They love their baseball. They obviously love their football, love their basketball, and they love their sports. And they cover them. It's the radio show around here in Clemson from 6 to 9, 9 to 12, 12 to 3, and 3 to 6 is all about sports.
Yeah, yeah,
And there's no other pro team. There's in the state of South Carolina. It's us in South Carolina, the big
Right. Yes.
flagship schools. So you're either one or the other. You're not in
Right.
between. You don't. Oh, I root for them when I don't see. No, that's you root.
Right. Right.
Everybody roots for each other to lose. I
Of
think
course.
it's
Of course.
crazy.
Yes. Yes.
It's almost tips the scale in a crazy way, but it is what it is, and there's no pro sports, so this is what people follow, and they do love it. And I do remember the Clemson team. I mean the Connecticut team, and
Yes.
George Springer and the shortstop
Exactly.
they had, and
Yes.
he's still
Ahmed.
playing. He's still playing. He still beat my Mariners there to Cal Raleigh's team with a home run. The
So
three,
can you talk about that, because that's
yeah,
something we talked about before we recorded.
yeah.
So Cal's dad played for you at Western.
Yes, his dad played for me, and his dad's brother, so Cal's uncle played for me. His other uncle um, uh, was my graduate assistant during that same time when those guys were there. So I had known the Raleighs. Short story, I had known John Raleigh, who was the best pitcher in the state of Vermont. When I was coaching at Vermont, he was the best pitcher in the state of Vermont. So I wanted him desperately to come to the University of Vermont. Well, they admission whatever wouldn't let him in, and I go. So that discouraged me. That now I'm ready to go someplace else.
Right.
He's got had a better feel for it. He wanted to be a physical education major, wanted to be a coach, teacher. He delivered papers, class prep. He was, that kind of guy
Yeah.
that you want in your university. But anyway,
Right.
so he ended up going to University of Central Florida because he was a good pitcher, and he didn't feel good all fall and came home at mid-break and was diagnosed with leukemia. So
Wow.
the 2 or 3 months he spent in the hospital, I still loved the kid, even though he didn't come. And so I would go and I would visit him in the hospital, and his girlfriend would be there, his family would be there. And Todd and Matt, his two, um, Cal's father, but John's brothers,
Yeah.
were coming into the hospital. They were 12 and 13 at the time or whatever. So I developed a relationship with them. Don't remember them a whole lot at that time, but they were in and out and, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. But they grew to like me or respect me for staying close to their brother, whatever. And so we have been so close. And, all Vermonters, we kind of stick together, New England people. So when I got a job at Western Carolina, Todd wanted to come to school. So I met him at Howard Johnson's in South Burlington on one of the coldest days in the history of life. Car wouldn't even start at the end, and so he came down, no scholarship, hitchhiked part of the way down there. He hitchhiked
Wow.
with 2 bags.
Oh my God.
Think about letting your kids do that. I mean,
No.
think
Right.
about that. Okay, blue collar comes, hasn't even been accepted yet. Goes up to the admissions office like 3 days before school starts, fills out the forms, hands him a little check. And now he's in the school. He comes to school, becomes my catcher, captain. His brother comes the next year. They're both in the Hall of Fame at
Wow.
Western Carolina. They both made their mark. They both were great players and great people. And so, anyway, that's how I got so entrenched with this Raleigh family. I think that they would, do anything for me. I would do anything for them. And
Yeah.
that's the way it works. But so Cal grew up. Todd ended up getting the job. Keith LeClaire got it after I got it, who died of ALS with the East Carolina afterwards. Then Rodney Hennon was now at Georgia Southern. Both these guys played for me. Then Todd got the job for 8 years after them. And Cal grew up around the field, switch hitting from day one and being around the field all the time. And that's why he's the player that he is right now. He had a great coach, his dad.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. What's funny about him too. Um, I'm an East Coast guy, so you don't see a lot of the West Coast games. Of
yeah,
course, he had a tremendous year, but then what's amazing is I look back at even like his time in the Cape,
yeah,
and he struggled in the Cape,
yeah,
but what a tremendous year, and it just makes you realize that baseball is a tough sport. It's a
yeah,
really tough sport, and also people can improve.
right,
Obviously he was good enough to get into the Cape,
right.
but and
Right.
the Cape with wood bats for a lot of people, that's
It's a humbling experience.
it's a humbling experience.
The
Exactly.
thing about in 2000, we had recruited him to come to Clemson, so he wanted to sign, he wanted to play for me, and we had another kid, Seth Beer, who ended up being a first round pick. He ended up coming, But the Raleighs were so loyal to me that when this thing happened to me in 2015, they go, we're not coming to Clemson. We're not, you do that to my guy. So he ended up going to Florida State
Mm.
and made his mark there. Jackson Coar, another really high profile prospect, ended up going to University of Florida and played in big leagues, pitched in the big leagues. And then we had another kid coming, Logan Davidson, played in the big leagues this year with the A's. And
Yeah.
so that was with the Angels, I think, maybe, but he's with the A's and playing in the big leagues. So we had four big leaguers coming to school at the same time, which was Omaha bound 2000, in my mind, 16, 17, 18. Any of those times was Omaha bound. Anyway, so Cal was coming. And that's why I always wanted to coach him. I think he always wanted me to coach him, and that's why we've always remained close. I text him after the games, text him after each one of
That's cool.
those games. We stayed at his house actually when we were out there, and so anyway, he's very humble, hard worker. He's everything you would want.
It seems like he's
Yeah,
just
everything you want.
regular hardworking dude. You know, it's easy to
Yeah.
like.
That's
Yeah.
what the Raleighs are. That's what
Yeah.
they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
who they are.
Um, talk about this, just a couple more things. What I know in the recent years, you've still been involved with Clemson. Are you still now on staff? Do you still basically work there at this stage?
The last 3 years, well, for 7 years, I didn't really go back much.
Yeah.
Didn't really. I followed it, but I didn't wasn't that interested, which is too bad. But anyway, when Eric Backus got the job, the first thing he said was, "Okay, you're on my staff. You're going to be on the staff somehow. You're going to be in my dugout. You're going to be next to me in the dugout." I go, "Well, Eric, I don't want to be, I don't want to be over your shoulder. This is your deal. I don't." He goes, "Coach, we're not going to talk about it anymore. This is what's going to happen."
Wow. What a guy.
So I go, and if a guy's got an ego or he's unsure of himself or he hasn't got confidence, he's not going to tell you that.
Right.
And so I said, well, let me think about it. So anyway, we come up with this title, and it's called program development, which means that I can help the coaches out. I can mentor them, mentor the player, talk to the players. I can't hit a fungo. I can't go out the shortstop, do my magic. I'm sure it's happening in other programs because nobody can monitor it, but
Right.
we played by the rules, and it killed me to not hit a fungo, not play catch with a kid. Now behind the scenes, you might you know give a kid a pointer in the dugout during a game. You can talk to them and all that kind of stuff. And my role was I talked to the team before every home game. We did 7 with 7. My number was always 7. So all my players call me 7. So we down the right field line. We do 7 minutes with 7. So if it's a 4 o'clock game at 3:35, players get together right down near the bullpen, and I'd have a motivational thing for them, a story for them, a lesson for them, some kind of thing about leadership, whatever it was. And they were all tuned in, clap before, clap after, and then they go play. And so I felt like I had made an impact. As a matter of fact, one kid called me the other day. He's now in real estate in Dallas, Texas. He's from New York, but he played at Georgetown, Andrew Chufo. And then he um, went to Clemson for 2 years, and then he got a job. And I was in Dallas, Texas. He's calling me on the way to work. He goes, "Coach, I just made our first sale the other day. Made the company X amount of dollars. I love it down here." He goes, "But I think about everything you told me in the 7 with 7. Every day it comes
Mm.
back to help me." So I just made an impact. I feel like I don't feel like I'm just there. Um, and if I did feel that way, I wouldn't do it.
Right. Right.
But anyway, so I did the last 3 years. I feel like I'm trying to pull away this year because I got some other things I want to do. I live an hour away. So I told Eric that. I said, "Eric, just need to talk about this, And he goes, in typical fashion, he's a great guy. We're great friends. He goes, "Yeah, just take the fall. I'll come down when you can. I'll see you January 6th. Talk to you later." Hang
Wow.
up on me. I go, "Okay." So anyway, I said this last year and I ended up doing it, but at the same time, I feel like I'm ready to try to, pull away a little bit. I'll go down there and watch as many games as I can. I'll, sit in the dugout, maybe I don't want to be next to him. I mean, I loved it. I felt like I had a value to him and to the coaches, and we'd be talking during the game and seeing things on the field.
Yeah.
I see things on the field maybe nobody else sees sometimes, and so anyway, I think it was valuable. And another one of the coaches said the other day, Coach, we'll see it. We'll see in the spring. We need some vitamin. We need your vitamin W. Probably vitamin win. So they're great coaches. They don't feel threatened by me. I don't want them to. I just want to support, help, give them ideas. I went down and watched them play Alabama in the only fall game that they could have, play 12 innings, whatever.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, everybody's cleared out and everything. They would come up and they go, "Hey, so what'd you see? What do we got?" And so he's giving me your opinion of what you see, who can play, who needs to work harder, that kind of thing. And I was able to watch. I was in the dugout, so I'm watching the whole team, watching the whole dynamic. Sometimes when you're coaching, you don't see all the things that are happening behind you,
right,
down the other side of the dugout, or how they're acting, or how they're paying attention, and whatever. And so I was able to take the whole thing in, and so anyway, I love it. Wayne, it's in my DNA. Woke up this morning and go, geez, I was thinking about baseball again last night, dreaming about baseball. I dreaming about, wake up and go, well, it's first and third plays, or,
right,
cut off some
right.
relays. My wife thinks I'm nuts, but I love it. I think about my players all the time. I think about, my time on the baseball field all the time. I think about, how when I go down to practice, as soon as I see something, I know I can help this kid. I know I can help this kid. You know, there's only so many coaches. You got four coaches, and you got 35, 40 guys now.
Right.
So I see things that can help each kid. And that's all I want to do. I want to teach. I want to help. I want to develop. I want kids to improve. I want them to think that they're getting everything they can out of their experience. Um, you have a little different dynamic now with the NIL, or and with the transfer portal. So now they're
Yep.
bringing in 6, 7 guys every year. They got to get adjusted to this new system. They have the guys have brought in have been great. They've picked the right guys over the last 3 years, who have helped the team win, but also have fit into the culture quick.
Yep.
But haven't distracted. And those kids in a year's time, after being 3 years at another school, or 2 years at another school, or 4 years at another school, and come as a grad student, as a grad transfer, they're tremendously loyal. They come back before spring training to train in Clemson. They, stay in touch with you. I'm texting with them all. I mean,
Yep.
they're in the 1 year or 2 years that they come to Clemson, they get entrenched in it because he does such a good job with the culture that, and the university's, great university. It's fun to be around. I mean, it's an awesome place. So they become entrenched in it. And usually it's a step up from where they were.
That's
Maybe
what I was going to say. So they've got to be pumped to be there,
they
right?
can't
Yeah,
believe the food they're getting. They can't
exactly.
believe the meeting rooms. They can't believe the facility, the locker room, the field itself. They can't believe the crowd support. They can't believe there's 6, 7,000 people at a game. They can't believe
Right, right.
the batting cage. They can't believe the technology to help them or whatever. I mean, so it's a step up
Yes.
for 99.9% of them.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's always good, because when somebody comes and, man, this is awesome, you got their attention right off the bat.
Yeah, yeah, no question. All right, my last
Yeah.
question for you, and this has been awesome. Obviously, now the bulk of your life/career, you're down south now. Do you miss up north at all? Do you go back up in New England at all for a vacation or see people? How
Yeah.
often do you get back up north?
Well, I'm got a 90. She'll be 95 December 3rd. My mother will be 95.
Oh, that's awesome.
She's assisted living in South Burlington, Vermont.
Yep.
I've got 2 brothers that live in Vermont, a sister that lives in Vermont. My best friend from high school lives in Vermont. I go up and stay with him when I go up there. So I have Vermont roots. I still love the University of Maine. I still follow them in football or baseball or whatever it is.
Yep.
I have New England roots. I always will have. I love. I don't think I'll ever live back up there.
Right.
I love visiting it. I love being up there. I don't think I want to be cold and dark.
No, I was going to say there are certain times a year where an up north is absolutely heaven. and certain times when it's just horrible and you've got to be very happy to be down south, right?
So I love that part of it. I like being down. I don't like all the way in Florida. I like being in the Carolinas. You
Yeah,
get a little touch of cool weather. The fall, beautiful out here right now. It's
yeah, yeah.
beautiful fall foliage. You get might get a snow here and there. Nobody knows what to do with it, but I'll shovel and I can do it.
Yeah.
And so, and they don't know how to drive in it.
Right.
Everybody, they go to the grocery store and there's no milk and no
Yeah, they
eggs.
panic,
No, yeah,
right?
yeah, they
Yeah,
panic.
yeah, yeah.
They say there might be some snow flurries Wednesday.
Right, right.
So, but I love it down here, and like to travel a little bit. Been all over Europe a little bit here and there, and I coached the USA team, which we didn't talk about, which was unbelievable.
Mm,
2018 and 19, traveled to Panama, Taiwan, South Korea, coached kids like Bobby Witt Jr., Anthony Volpe, shortstop for the Yankees,
yep,
Corbin Carroll, all-star for the Arizona Diamondbacks, C.J. Abrams, Riley Green, Detroit Tiger, all-star.
yep.
These are all on the same team.
Wow.
And we won a gold medal. But that was an unbelievable experience. Kept me in baseball during that 7-year period, and then kept my appetite wet for baseball and kept me in tune to everything. So that was an awesome, awesome experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I haven't coached for 3 years and I miss it. What I do not miss is I like the freedom now where I can
Yeah,
go on
yeah,
trips and not have to worry. So
yeah.
I'm sure you're in that same boat where it's nice to travel and not be worrying about recruiting or et cetera, et cetera.
Right, right. And there's some freedom to that because as we coached for 4 decades or more, and you're thinking about it every day.
Of course.
And weekends you're practicing or you're traveling or you're
Yep.
playing or you're recruiting or you're something. It's 7 days a week. You're thinking about it,
Totally.
and the only time you really have off is a little bit maybe Christmas time or whatever,
Exactly.
and then you're cranked back up. And after the spring season, Wayne, I always said you go through PSD, and they go, "What's that?" Postseason depression. So
Right.
you can't get sick. You don't post a sticky note on your door like a tenured professor and say,
No.
"Hey, I'll see you next Tuesday. Read chapter 9 and 10." You go if you're sick. You're coaching. You got sinus infection. You got the flu. You're still going.
Yes.
You're still coaching. You're still figuring it out how to get things done. And when it's all over, it's like a locomotive going through the other side of that tunnel. It hits a wall, and you're like, "What do I do tomorrow? I'm exhausted," And then you got camps, you got recruiting, and then August you start all over again, and the new cycle. So
Yeah, and now as you mentioned before, these current coaches, it's immediately into the portal. The
yeah,
second the season's over, you're who's leaving, who can we get before you even worry about going to get any high school
yeah,
kids, right?
yeah, 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 yeah. And it's a sad deal for kids out of high school now. This is
Tough.
what bothers me as much. And I have had so many players in my time coaching that were on books or $1,000 or 10% or
Yeah.
$2,000 and became players you couldn't play without in
Right.
Omaha,
Right.
and drafted kids. Sign a kid for $1,000, he signs for 1.75 million.
Right.
Just because he develops and works hard and sticks with it, doesn't transfer, doesn't. Oh, I'm not playing enough as a freshman. I got to go.
Amen.
So I'm all against this stuff. I like what it was. You got to make an adjustment, so you got to stay in it, which is, I guess you do. Everybody has to do. But I coached at the right time in my life, and I coached the right kids, and I coached with the right priorities in mind.
Yeah. And I think you're going to agree with what I'm going to say is I totally support everything you just said. And I think almost every coach would like it to be
Right.
simpler and stay with a kid 4 years. But the somewhat of exception, as you mentioned a little while ago, is a kid is at a Georgetown or is at another place. He's doing so well there. And now that affords him the opportunity to go to a Clemson
Right.
and maybe, his education's paid for a little bit of money, but he appreciates it. And he's
Yeah.
so happy because it's an upgrade for him. Those are the stories I like. It's
Right.
the kid that is pissed at the coach as a freshman because he didn't get to play enough. And instead of working harder, he's going to leave.
Right.
That's what's all wrong with everything.
Right. Right. I agree with you. And the guys that have come over, take advantage of their opportunity. They're appreciative of it. They've got gratitude. They work hard.
Exactly.
And then they prove to themselves, oh, I could play at that level. So I agree. There's been some really good part of it that comes out of it.
Part of it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But there's the other part where we're teaching these kids that hey, everything's got a price to it.
That's right.
I don't like that, and I don't like the idea that if I'm doesn't work out right now, I don't have to grind so much. I can just try to go find someplace else. We're teaching the wrong
Totally agree.
society in general. We're not teaching them the things that you and I grew up. Let's just put
Totally.
this thing out and let's go.
Amen.
You know?
I
So,
couldn't agree more.
and,
All right, Coach. I so appreciate you
yeah,
giving me time. You're a legend. This is going to be a big hit to my audience, getting a guy like you here. And you know what? What I love about you is just you're like a regular guy. You just have a tremendous background,
yeah.
and I enjoyed our time. I hope you did too.
Wayne, I tell you what, I enjoy. We'll do this again anytime you want. And you're really good at this.
Thank you, buddy.
You got the right voice. You got to ask the right questions. You don't have to ask me too many questions. Once I get going, I get going.
No, that's great. That's why I wanted to have you on.
Once I get rolling.
Yeah, not many people have.
I love talking coaching. I love talking people. I love
Yes.
talking. I've thought about doing a podcast myself about 7 with 7, something just short one, because there's so many lessons to be taught in this game and through athletics.
Yes.
And so much good that comes out of athletics, and I hope we always keep that in perspective, and not let the money driven, this whole thing, the teaching, the development, the improvement, the loyalty, the relationships. That's what it's all about for me. That's what
Exactly.
it's all about.
Exactly. All right, Coach. I'm going to hit. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me with this episode of the Game Plan Podcast by College Baseball Advisors. Hope you enjoyed today's talk with Jack Leggett, longtime college baseball coach, great background, football, baseball guy. I think you hopefully learned a lot about the journey of a baseball coach, and kind of an old school, awesome guy. That was really an enjoyable podcast to do. Again, this podcast is made possible by the generous support of the World Baseball Coaches Convention that takes place at the Mohegan Sun Casino. This year's January 15th to 17th, 2026. If you go to their website, baseballcoachesclinic.com, there's information on registration and the speakers and the schedule, the venue at the convention center, the vendors that will be there, and shows the spaces where the regular rooms, the breakout rooms, the baseball batting cage for demos, the infield area for demos. It's really good. So again, check them out at baseballcoachesclinic.com. Again, this is your host, Wayne Mazzoni. For more information about what I do with my recruiting service, please visit collegebaseballadvisor.com. Again, thank you for listening to this episode, and we hope to see you back on future episodes. Thank you.